Crypto mining is becoming more and more challenging every day with the rising difficulties in network hash rates and the soaring electricity prices. But what if I told you there was a way to stay profitable all year round, regardless of the market conditions and all through the bear market? Well, my name's Chris, I'm the bear market miner, and today I'm going to take you through my 8 kilowatt solar setup and show you how it's keeping me profitable all through the bear market. So we'll have a quick glimpse at what we're working with in here. We've got 6 rigs. One of those rigs on the right is actually being sold as we speak. So we've got around 50 cards running, mostly 3070s. We've got a 3060 Ti rig and also 10 6600 XTs. Jumping into the ASICs, we've got 10 of these KSO Ultras just mining away, doing their thing. They've been going solid for the past 3 months now, so really enjoyed having those online and such low wattage. We've also got a couple of lithium miners here. We have more being hosted, but just the Albox and the AL0. And also our CPUs, we've got 6 of them running at the moment. 7950X, we've got 4 5900Xs and one 3900X to round it out. Jumping up on the roof, we can see where the magic happens, as they say. This is the first wing of my solar panels, approximately half, just under, and the other half or so right here, as we can see. So it is a little bit later in the afternoon, so not as bright as it could be, but we're still pulling around 5,500 watts at 3 p.m. So this is the time when I would start to power down some of my rigs, just to make sure we're staying within that kilowatt capacity and not pulling off the grid. All right, so let's see how much this cost me and how much we're making monthly, because that's what it all really comes down to, right? If you're not making money, if the investment is too high, then it's kind of like, what's the point? So let's get into that. But before we do, let's hear a quick word from today's sponsor. Attention, crypto miners. Are you ready to level up your mining game? Then look no further than Cryptominerbros.com, your go-to source for top-of-the-line mining equipment. Cryptominerbros stock the latest ASIC miners and partner with the most trusted brands like Bitmain, Goldshell, Jazzminer, and Ice River, just to name a few. Plus, with manufacturers' warranties of 6 to 12 months, worldwide shipping, and 24/7 customer support, you're fully covered no matter where you are. And don't forget, you can use code BEARMINER at checkout or click the link in description to save $70 on all products store-wide. Visit Cryptominerbros.com today and start mining smarter. So my setup cost me around $5,500 around 4 years ago in 2020 it was. Now I won't show you the receipt for obvious reasons, because I don't want all of you to have my address that badly. So let's have a look at the numbers here. 7 kilowatt system, 10 kilowatt system. So we're right in between here, a little bit, maybe around the $7,000 mark is the Queensland rate where I'm from. And that's a little bit cheaper than the national average, which is pretty nice. Now, obviously, a little bit more expensive than I paid. Inflation is has increased prices, I should say. Labor's more expensive, parts are more expensive, so you get that. But I wouldn't imagine that these include the rebates. So here in Australia, the government's really pushing towards greener energy, as I think they are in lots of other places of the world as well. So there are like $2,000 to $3,000 rebates on install costs of solar. So I did just have a quick look at some prices, 3,491. Obviously, these are all in Aussie dollars, 2,799. So if this is what they're advertising, I'm sure there will be some hidden fees, but I'd assume right around the $6,000 mark, you should still be able to get one. But obviously that depends on where you are in the world. So let's have a look at some numbers, because I wanted to just break a few things down here so you can get a bit of an idea of what you'd sort of be looking at and what we've made. Now, unfortunately, I didn't start tracking on this website until late last year, so I don't have all the numbers, but you'll get a bit of an idea here, right? So if we say 4,494 plus, this will be in the last 15 months or so. Plus when this loads up, we've got another 7,319 kilowatt hours. It's 11,813 kilowatt hours we've pulled so far. So let's just assume that you're using up all of this. Obviously you won't, you know, depending on if you're watching your rigs, turning them on and on and on and on and maxing out and then turning them off as the solar goes down. Like, that's not that realistic, but just as an idea, you know, you can take 10% off this final number, 20% off this final number if you want. So looking at, say, an 18-cent US kilowatt hour revenue rate, which I think works out to, we've got it here, 27 Aussie cents. So if we were to times that by 27, in the last 15 months, you know, if we were mining, which we have been off the solar exclusively, you'd be looking at $3,189. So you might be halfway or all the way there, depending on the cost in Australia to get your solar installed. So that's just a bit of a ballpark number. So let's jump on over now and I'll show you exactly what my farm is making. You know, not just based off a kilowatt hour rate, but based off, you know, the actual revenue rate and hours mined. So let's have a look at my actual numbers. So I've just thrown together a very basic spreadsheet here. We can see we've got my NVIDIA GPUs, my AMD GPUs, my CPUs, my Casper and Ellipal ASICs. Now, all of the GPUs and CPUs are just mining for that 8 hours a day, assumed 8 hours a day, you know, based on sunlight hours. The Casper ASICs and Ellipal miners are mining for 24 hours a day, but I have just taken the 8-hour revenue so we can get a bit of an idea of what we're looking at. So all the NVIDIA GPUs, I think there's about 30 in total, making $5.12. That's in Aussie dollars on Zealous. The AMD GPUs, the 106600 XTs, they're on Claw. CPUs are on Zephyr, and obviously the ALO and Albox are on Ellipal, and the KS0 Ultras are on Casper. So daily that works out through this 8-hour solar period to $10.29, and this is assumed with no electricity cost, right? Assuming full sunlight from point A to point B. Monthly that works out to $312, and yearly $3,755. So even if you drop this number in half and just assumed you only actually got 4 hours of, you know, daylight, you're still looking at just under $2,000, you know, which would put you at a 2 to 3 year payback period on your solar system. If you had even better months, better days, you know, you could be looking at a 2-year payback period. So for me and for the prices in Australia, given all the sunlight, you know, a really good investment. But I guess that depends on where you are in the world and how much, you know, this setup costs. I have had people in my comments before on one of my other solar videos I did months and months ago. I think they said that their cost was like 15 grand Canadian to get an 8 kilowatt system installed. So absolutely wild. But on paper here, the numbers look pretty nice. So, I mean, the numbers look reasonably good, but there are a few caveats to think about before you get into something like this. Say, you know, firstly, the size of your farm. You know, how much power are you pulling? You know, is your total capacity going to be, you know, 20,000 watts? Then if so, running all of your rigs, you know, for 8 to 10 hours is just going to cost you a bucket load of money. Now, that's obviously up to your discretion, but if you do fall within that sort of smaller size range that I would consider myself, maybe small to medium, depending on, you know, how you look at it or who's watching this video, then definitely a really good investment for me. There are other things to consider, like, you know, rainy days, wet days. You know, I'm basically just turning my GPU and CPU rigs on in the morning, then I'm off for work, then I'm coming home, right? So there are going to be days when you're going to, you know, randomly get cloud coverage. There is going to be rain. All of this is going to eat into your profits, and obviously, you know, not make as much money as some of those numbers projected. So take those numbers with a grain of salt. You know, maybe take 20, 30, 40% off them if you want. Just to be safe, you know, if you were thinking of considering investing into solar. But even if you didn't want to use it for, you know, crypto mining, or you had a tiny little farm, you know, you could still use this to power your home, right? And save on your electricity bills, and maybe use that money, buy some crypto. So there's definitely a lot of different ways to look at it and to manage. I would not recommend a battery Unless you've got a smaller farm, I'm basically maxing out my capacity daily, so there isn't anything left over generally at the end of the day. I think I sell back maybe a couple of 100 kilowatts back to the grid, just for instance on days where, you know, we might be pulling 8 kilowatts, I'm only using 5 or 6, you know, and I get a measly 5 cents per kilowatt hour back from the government for that. So definitely not nearly as good as the sort of 20-30 cents you can make crypto mining with it. So that will wrap it up, guys. Hopefully this video gave you a little bit of insight. I just wanted to throw some numbers at you like I always do if you watch my videos, just so you've got a bit more of an informed idea about, you know, how much you could potentially make, costs in Australia if you're Australian and looking. And let me know, like I said, what you guys are being charged for this elsewhere in the world. I have seen some other people in the space, you know, say things like, it's not worth it, don't bother doing it. But I completely beg to differ. I did the numbers, I do this sort of stuff all the time. I'm a numbers guy, and to me, it looks like it's making sense, and that crypto going into the account is also there. It's real, right? So people can say it's not worth it, rah, rah, rah. But when I look at what I'm making and I look at my electricity bill, it all seems to add up as far as I'm concerned. So if you like the video, guys, please hit that like button. Remember, as I always say, there's a Discord. We're trying to get more people in there. Make sure you join it and give me your opinion, good, bad, or ugly, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.